All right, so in this video, we're going to talk about Dynamesh and how to use it in a hard surface context. It's an incredibly powerful feature in Zbrush. And to begin, I'm just going to go ahead and start with the Sphere 3D primitive, and we're going to convert it to a Polymesh 3D by hitting Make Polymesh 3D. I'm going to hit Control W until I find a poly color that I like better. And we're just going to take a look at the default settings here. So Dynamesh lives in the geometry panel, and then there's like a little Dynamesh submenu right here. Before we hit it, I'm just going to do a quick overview of what's going on with our primitive here. We have procedurally generated geometry, so there are poles, and the size of the polygons in one area is different than in other areas, and that's going to have an impact on your sculpting. If you are inclined to sculpt on this, let me show you what I'm talking about. So like over here where the geometry is fairly consistent, let me actually add a subdivision, hit Control D. We get predictable, clean deformations, but if I were to go over the pole, you can begin to see there's like this this distortion there. So we want to try to avoid irregularly dense geo because it's just it's going to be a little bit tougher to sculpt on. So what I'm going to do is we'll just hit Dynamesh. And so what Dynamesh is going to do is it's going to fill all of 3D space with tiny little cubes, and then it's just going to trim through all of those cubes to create a new surface with whatever our source mesh is. So if I hit Dynamesh, I've got a subdivision on here. So in this case, I'm just going to say, no, I don't want to preserve the subdivisions. Basically, that's just saying, like, do you want to have subdivisions show up in your Dynamesh? And typically, Dynamesh is not going to be something that I'm particularly worried about maintaining subdivisions, because I'm usually just going to be converting whatever my highest subdivision is into Dynamesh. So this is our new result. We can see the topology is completely different now, and hopefully the description that I gave, which is probably not totally accurate, of trimming through a volume of tiny little cubes. I don't know if that's actually what's going on, but I think functionally that's a good way to think about it. So now we've got a consistently dense topology all the way around, and this would give you much more consistent results in your sculpting. So if I want to make some changes to this, let's say I'm going to go ahead and kick on my symmetry by hitting the X key, and I've got my move brush. So if I just wanted to sort of make some changes, like let's say, whatever, we're going to give them some horns. Right now, at this point, I have kind of reintroduced that original problem, which is our geometry is no longer consistent. So like I'm going to get a different result if I'm sculpting over here. Also, when it's all stretched out like this, it's just not going to support detail. You've got to make sure that your geometry is a little more regular than this to get something that's predictable. In order to recalculate the geometry, recalculate the Dynamesh, it's very easy. You just have to hold Control and then basically mask a section that is not on the geo. So like if I mask the geo, nothing's going to happen. Whoops, let me actually mask the geo. You can see this doesn't update, but if I mask off the geo, this is instantly recalculated. So that's very, very convenient. So now I've got, again, consistent density throughout the mesh. So let's look at some of the settings now. I'm just going to back out of this a little tiny bit. Let me hit Control Z a few times. All right, so this is the resolution here will dictate the size of our little cubes here that we're trimming through. So if I make this number lower, the cubes get bigger, and if I make this number higher, the cubes get smaller. That is not dependent on how big your geometry is. It's ZBrush world space. So these values, like the sizes of the cubes, no matter how big your geo is, they're always going to be the same in the ZBrush scene. So let me just show you kind of what this looks like, practically speaking. I'm going to go to subtool. Let's duplicate this one. I guess we can leave symmetry on. Well, I'm going to go this way, so I'm going to turn symmetry off. And we will recalculate with a different value. I'm going to take this from 128, and I'm just going to type in 64. And you can see from one to the other, let me see if I can, I think Shift R will show them both. Right, okay. So Shift R is just the render. So you can see here, this was with a resolution of 128, and this is with a resolution of 64. And then conversely, if I go the other direction with it, we'll just duplicate this one again and go this way, and I'm going to set this to 256, and we'll recalculate. Now we have gone the other direction, And if you look at it's maybe a little hard to tell because of how dense everything is. I maybe should have started with some other geometry, but these squares are approximately 4 times bigger than these squares, and these squares are approximately 4 times bigger than these squares. So basically, like, each square is getting subdivided once when you cut this value in half. So the default is going to be this one, so that's 128. So if you reduce it to 64, you get this, and if you increase it to 256, you get this. Now, a thing to be cautious of is this number goes a lot higher, but at a certain point, and in this case it would be a pretty low value, you will not be able to see the difference in terms of the surface. It's not going to look any different, but you could be dealing with millions and millions of polygons very, very easily. So when I'm using Dynamesh, what I like to do is I try to find the minimum resolution required to preserve the detail that I'm sculpting on, and then I keep the number as low as possible, because you can end up with like your simple model of whatever it is you're working on. Our 3 spheres here, it could be like a gigabyte file if I just make this number too big, because I just have so many polygons going on here. So we'll just kick up, like, I don't know, whatever, 1500 something. It's not gonna, like, there's something going on with the numbers here, like if it's trying to maintain some kind of easily producible result. So you might punch in 1500 and it'll round it up to 1504. Don't worry about that. All right, so let's see. This is currently sitting at 173,000 polygons. I'm going to duplicate it. Actually, let me show you one thing. So we'll go to dam standard, and I'll just like do some stuff, right? So if we look at this up close, we can kind of see there's some faceting. So I'm going to increase this to, like, we were at 256. Let's try, like, I don't know, whatever, 512. We'll just keep doubling or halving these values. And it's going to be a little bit tricky to see, but if I come over and start sculpting on it now, like, now there's enough geometry here that this is going to be a really smooth result. So 512, let's call that the sweet spot. And we went from, so we're still at 713,000. So I'm going to duplicate that. We'll scoot it over, and now I'm going to increase this number to something a little bit higher. We'll try that 1500 again, recalculate it, and you can see it's going to take a lot longer to come up with the result. And this geometry is now, let's see, 4.3 million polygons, which is not anywhere near what ZBrush's limit is, but you can understand if you had like a dozen of these things or more, it starts to add up and your performance will definitely tank. And there's not really a visual difference, right? There's no reason to have that many polygons. So you just kind of want to, like, toe up to the line of whatever makes sense and try to leave it there. So let's see, in the next video, we will keep talking about some of the additional features available to you with Dynamesh and why it's useful in a hard surface context.